r/ask Reddit. What fan theory do you 100% accept as true? The reason the glass slipper in a Cinderella didn't turn back to a regular slipper or disappear at midnight is because the fairy godmother was messing with us. Her main goal was to set Cinderella up for life, and to do that she needed a way for the prince to find her. She could easily have magic Cinderella into the life she wanted. Arbitrary midnight deadline be damned. But instead the fairy godmother decided to make the prince want her for her own qualities and to prove his love by tracking Cinderella down. It's like the theory in Aladdin that it's all in pursuit of his first wish, that is, to make Aladdin a prince. He doesn't become a prince until he marries Jasmine and the Sultan changes the rules. Until then, he only appears to be a prince. Until that point, the genie is acting in pursuit of a larger goal. Magic users are tricksy. I thought it was because the slippers were the only things not made from something else, like FG made them with just straight magic, whereas the coach was originally a pumpkin, and the coachmen were mice, etc. I believe there was a fan written short story about how the alien creature from The Thing didn't think it was doing anything wrong, and saw itself as a hero. All other races it encountered in the universe were exactly like The Thing, and they willingly assimilated with each other. Then, The Thing comes to Earth and is confused as to why the resident hive mind isn't willing to assimilate, but then The Thing is horrified to realize that each human, plant, and animal is its own individual, independent of the others, and doomed to die and go extinct. It tries to assimilate them in order to free them from death and to ensure their genes will live on forever. That said, humans very much enjoy their individuality, hence the conflict, but I believe that The Thing thought it was helping, even if it wasn't actually doing so. Twofold for the movie Inception. The idea that the last shot doesn't matter as to the outcome, because Cobb's totem was not the top, but his wedding ring. Also, that Ariadne was hired by Michael Caine's character to incept Cobb herself and drag him out of his spiral following Mal's death and allow him to move on and reunite with his children. Both together make a great movie perfect to me. Jesus Christ. This is my favorite movie ever and your post just made me like it even more. I'd heard the totem theory before but the Ariadne theory just gave me chills. Thanks. Watching it again tonight. Ariadne is the name of the mythical Greek character who helped Theseus escape the Minotaur's labyrinth. Gatsby keeps calling Nick old sport because he doesn't remember his name. He doesn't care to remember his name. Why would it matter to Gatsby? He's just another means to his end with Daisy. That Sean Connery is actually still James Bond in The Rock. That is ducking brilliant. That Han Solo was slightly force sensitive, which manifested as extraordinary luck. I am not nearly a big enough fan to debate the issue. I've seen very passionate people on both sides of the theory with more knowledge than I will ever have. I just like the theory. Your theory is kinda true. Han doesn't need to be force sensitive for the force to guide him. It just means he can't use it, bend it to his will. Chirat from R1 is not force sensitive. The force simply uses him for a purpose, hitting the button. He is simply aware the force is using him. I like the theory that Inspector Gadget is a cyborg that was meant to replace a great secret agent that supposedly died after an accident, and that Dr. Claw is the agent he was made to replace. I think Dr. Claw is Penny's grandfather. The real subject of interest is the dog, which was enhanced via genetic engineering and experimentation. Inspector Gadget's main mission is to protect the dog, which he does by pretending to be unaware of the dog's actions and putting himself in harm's way before the dog does. A friend told me about the fan theory that Bojack Horseman, the entire series, is one massive lead up to a horse walks into a bar. A punchline. That would be pretty epic. I feel it's this or suicide as the only possible endings to Bojack. I think that at the end, something bad happens to Bojack that trumps everything else in the show, and we cut to him yelling at a barkeep. So yeah, that's why I have a long face or something like that. Like the whole show was him telling off a bartender who made a "why the long face" joke. Yondu knew Star-Lord had given him a fake orb as soon as Star-Lord said don't open it, but he knew the orb was more trouble than it was worth, so he pretended not to. I guess we'll find out for sure in the sequel. I think he did it more because he knew that the orb was safer with Nova Prime, but, as captain of the Ravagers, He had demanded the orb from Peter in exchange for the Ravager's assistance in the fight. If he was seen openly rejecting the orb to leave it with Nova Prime, it could have made him look bad in the eyes of the crew. This way, it looks like Yondu tried to do right by the Ravagers, but that dastardly Peter kid tricked them again. But really, Yondu knew exactly what was happening and wanted to do the right thing without losing his crew's respect. Kevin from The Office is a genius who only pretends to be dumb. Over the series, Kevin went from a normal dude to a complete moron. But by the end, he's running a bar and it looks like it's in good shape. If Kevin was as dumb as he seems, it would have likely already failed or been on the way to doing so. He originally applied to work at the warehouse, but Michael saw something in him and put him in accounting, where he somehow stayed for at least a decade. Since he's running a bar, he's gotta be kinda smart, right? Kevin obviously isn't dumb when he proved to be very good at math when pie was involved, but couldn't do it the same math with salads. Could it be that he was actually brilliant and played dumb to amuse himself? Tobias Funky is an albino black man. This isn't a theory, really. The creators themselves said it was something they wanted to work into the show if they had more seasons. Well, I guess they blew their opportunity. In Disney's Ratatouille, the old lady in the beginning of the movie living in the house next to the river is the food critic, Anton Ego's mother. In the flashback scene where he eats the ratatouille, you can see similarities of the house from the beginning, her face, and I think the bridge. I actually really like this. I will take note and rewatch. Dennis Reynolds, Arsip, is a goddamn psychotic killer who committed his first murder after being tricked into digging up his dead mother's grave. Star Wars theory: stormtroopers didn't kill Luke's aunt and uncle. Boba Fett did. It's not like stormtroopers to leave burned bodies outside like that, and we have proof he was on Tatooine at that time. It makes sense that Boba would go out on a side contract for the Empire to find some lost droids. He tracked them to the homestead, and I like to think Owen rushed Fett, and he lit them up. This would also explain Vader's line to Boba in ESB, "No disintegrations," because the last time Vader had worked with Boba, he torched Ben and Beru. That Mrs. Norris was originally a human witch, in love with Filch, and was trapped in cat form training to be an animagus. Or maybe just an animagus that decided not to be a person anymore. I know if I could become a dog or a bird or something, I'd probably just say duck that human nonsense. It's time to be the longest living dog in history. What if she's from a pureblood family who didn't approve of her squib lover, so she faked her own death and moved in with Filch at Hogwarts? She could be in human form whilst in private with Filch and then turn into a cat when in public. It wouldn't surprise me if Dumbledore was in on the whole thing. The Star Wars prequels are heavily embellished memories of R2-D2. I believe George Lucas has confirmed that the entire saga is R2-D2 telling, documenting the story, as he's the only one involved in all of the major events. That theory came from the horse's mouth itself. The Flintstones and the Jetsons lived at the same time and is really a future two-class system of incredibly wealthy and super poor. For being so poor, the Flintstones certainly have many exotic and extravagant working animals. My own theory here, but in District 9, the prawns are all humans from the future that were changed by their fuel source into a mutated version of humans. Explains why Browski turned into a prawn and looks exactly the same as the rest of them and manages to survive the mutation. The Knights of Ren didn't kill Luke's Jedi students. The Knights of Ren are the Jedi students and have turned to the dark side, much the same way Darth Vader killed Anakin Skywalker. Whoa, I like this a lot. Definitely makes Luke's shame guilt even more powerful. To Luke, losing the kids to the dark side could be more painful than just losing them. That the Weasleys are descendants of Godric Gryffindor, which explains their red hair and always being sorted into his house. Makes sense. They're an old family, seem to all be rather good at magic, have some interesting family heirlooms like the clock. Being poor even fits well. The Gaunts were Slytherin's descendants and poor too. Midichlorians don't have anything to do with allowing people to use the Force. They simply thrive in Force users, Force sensitive people. So they are a marker and not a cause. I don't know what the canon actually is on this, but that's how I justify that stupid idea. Ben Stiller from Heavyweights and Ben Stiller from Dodgeball are the same character. It makes too much sense. That Sam and Dean had so much bad luck throughout the show Supernatural because of all the mirrors they broke in the Bloody Mary episode. Dexter wasn't a psychopath. He was told from a young impressionable age that he would eventually grow up as one. A kid who was told he could not love, care, or show emotion, eventually became displaced with his emotions going to so far as saying I had a weird feeling that if I were capable of it would be called love. He knows what love is and experiences it multiple times throughout the series. Why would he save his foster sister instead of catching the other killer if he didn't truly care for her? He had the opportunity. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.